First goal of the year goes for the Raiders.
Oh, beautiful shot there. Nicely done. Gets the pin.
Oh, was that beautiful? Onside kick, and it's recovered by Hastings.
And he's rung up for strike 3.
Double alley. Touchdown Raiders.
Welcome back to those listening on KDWA, and welcome to those watching on HCTV. We are at First National Bank of River Falls Field, and the Hastings Raiders and the Woodbury Royals set to do battle in the season opener for the Raiders today, as Hastings gets to reveal their new uniforms and a little bit of a new lineup, but a lot of familiar faces on this Raider team from a season ago, a Hastings team with some high expectations for the year and a very, very impressive amount of players on this year's roster. 2 pages full on their roster. So a very good sign to show the strength of this program. And you can see on the TV side, Gavin Oddman will be on the mound for Hastings today, and he'll be joining the lineup. Eddie Piney will lead things off for them. Alex Hendrickson, Tanner Anselment, Mitch Iliff, Evan Nelson, and Jack Zaleski. Then Oddman will bat 7th, Johnny Tegland will bat 8th, and Cade Kimmis will bat 9th. For Woodbury, Jack Huberty will lead things off. Lucas McNellis will follow, then Adam Wall will bat 3rd. Carter Klein, George Bielos, and Ben Gillison are 4, 5, and 6. Joey Moeller, Tommy Dittrich, and Patrick Healy are 7th, 8th, and 9th. So Huberty is into the batter's box. The 2023 baseball season is about to get underway, and we appreciate you being with us here on this afternoon edition of Hastings Baseball. And Oddman will throw one outside, ball 1, to start the 2023 campaign. Oddman committed to DCTC. The windup, the pitch, and ball 2. So 2-0 the count for Gavin Oddman against Jack Huberty here. Again, Raiders in white, Woodbury in powder blue with royal blue helmets and hats. And it's a 3-0 count on Huberty to kick things off here. Nice crowd for noon on a Friday here in River Falls. It is Good Friday. And a strike is called. Oddman on Huberty to get one back. 3-1. First game of the spring sports season for us here on KDWA. Strike 2 to fill it up, and a good start for Gavin Oddman. A good comeback, I should say, by Oddman after going up 3-0 here in the count. So Oddman will look to get 3 straight strikes here. The windup, rise and fire. It's outside for ball number 4, and Huberty heads off to first base. So Woodbury gets a base runner on the first at-bat of the season by virtue of a 6-pitch walk. And now number 11, Lucas McNellis, the designated hitter, will step in for the Woodbury Royals. Johnny Tegland, the catcher, awaits the pitch from Gavin Oddman. It's going to be over on first base, Mitch Iliff. And McNellis watches this pitch go outside for ball number 1. Oddman waits for the signal, and he and Tegland exchange glances to communicate what pitch is going to be thrown here. Wind up, the pitch swung on by McNellis, popped up over to third, throw to first will be in time, and 1 away. Runner goes to second base. Jack Huberty will advance to second base, but McNellis is thrown out. Nice play by Evan Nelson to correct after bobbling it briefly and get it over to Iliff for the out at first. And so Adam Wall will step into the batter's box for Woodbury. Not a section game, non-conference game, but there will be a lot of common opponents for these two teams in section play. As Oddman steps off the mound and Johnny Tegland runs up to have a brief communique with him. One away and one on for Woodbury here in the top of the first inning. Season opener. Game was supposed to be played at 6:30 last night. Was postponed because of field conditions, but they were able to fit it in for the noon window today. River Falls High School has a game immediately following this one on this very field. The joys of having a turf field, as Oddman throws a ball on the first pitch to number 1 Adam Wall. Count is 1-0, one away, one on. For those watching on HCTV, there is some technical things going on with the scoreboard, so I'll keep you up to date as best as I can on what's going on there, as Oddman will throw that one outside for ball 2. Two balls, no strikes. One on with one away in the top of the first inning. Oddman winds up and fires in right down the middle for a strike, 2-1. Hastings, for those listening on the radio, the new uniforms are white from head to toe, but blue numbers with a gold outline, and the same applies to kind of the bottom of the t-shirt cutoff as a swing hit well back deep into right field, and racing back to get to it and making the catch for the out is Cade Kimmis, and almost slipping on his own heels there at third base is Huberty. He comes all the way around to third, but it's 2 away for Woodbury. As a great catch out there in foul territory by Cade Kimmis to get out number 2. And so Carter Klein into the batter's box for Woodbury to face Oddman here. Again, it's Iliff on first. He will await there. Evan Nelson on at third base as the infielder for Hastings there. We've also got at second base and shortstop today, Alex Hendrickson is the shortstop. And at second base, we've got Eddie Piney. Here's Oddman with a 1-0 count, now a 2-0 count. Outside to the right on Carter Klein with Bielos in the on-deck circle for Woodbury. Here's Oddman, the wind up, the pitch, and that one just a bit high to the outside. So 3-0 the count, 2 away and a runner in scoring position for Woodbury. The leadoff hitter Huberty on third base. Here's Oddman, and a nice strike right down the middle to get it to 3-1. 3-1, 2 away. Hastings and Woodbury. Season opener from River Falls. Swung on, hit well. This one's down for a base hit, and Woodbury will take a 1-0 lead as this one bounced in between Piney and Kimmis in right center field, and the Raiders are down 1-0 with a single from Carter Klein, and George Bielos will step into the batter's box now for Woodbury. Again, Woodbury in powder blue uniforms. Oddman. This one is hit well, way back to left field, racing back and making a spectacular diving catch to end the inning. Out there in left field is going to be Jack Zaleski. Tanner Anselman out there in left makes the catch to end the inning. Woodbury gets one in to take a 1-0 lead, but that's all that they get in that inning, and Hastings will bat for the first time at 2023 when we come back.
Who are we? We are artists. We are entertainers. We are storytellers. We are teachers. We keep you informed. We follow the action. Who are we? We are Hastings Community TV.
looks like it is going to be number 8, George Bielos, who just flew out the left to end the top of the first inning. Again, the Raiders have a fun schedule this year. They have their 16 conference games. Non-conference schedule includes Woodbury today, Park, Eastview, and Lakeville South. The non-conference schedule for the Raiders this year, and hoping to win all of those games and get them into a good section standing. Park obviously represented the section at the state tournament a year ago. And they were scheduled to play today, actually, out at Grossman Field, but that game has been moved to April 20th, and it will remain at Grossman Field. The Raiders actually get a little bit of a break after this. They don't play again until April 12th, and that would be at Grossman next Wednesday against North St. Paul. As George Bielos gets a couple warm-up pitches in. Hastings softball has 3 games next week. They'll play Tartan on the 11th. Then they'll play on the 13th against Hill Murray in the West St. Paul Dome. And then on the 14th, they'll take on South St. Paul. So they've got their season getting underway here. As spring sports slowly starting to get underway as the transition from the snow to the warm has started to get underway. You can see in the outfield pretty much all grass out behind the 375-foot pole out there in the outfield, but still a lot of snow to melt, and with some warmer weather on the way, that should happen fast, and we'll get into a little bit more of a consistent schedule with spring sports. As Eddie Piney steps in to lead things off for the Raiders here, and he swings low, but it is ball 1 for Eddie Piney to start things off on his first pitch of the season. Piney committed to play baseball as well at Northern State. He gets a whack of this one way back deep into left, and he can't make the catch. Can Woodbury bounces off the sign. Piney's around second base, and he will come back there. So a leadoff double by Eddie Piney and the celly to boot, and the Raiders are off and running. That was one of the more interesting celebrations I've seen. And now Al Hendrickson, the St. Thomas commit. There are 6 baseball commits on this roster for the Raiders. We mentioned Oddman, Piney, Selesky has committed to play baseball. Hendrickson has committed to St. Thomas, as we mentioned. Iliff is headed to the University of St. Falls. So there are quite a few. I know I'm missing one. Selesky at St. Cloud State. We'll get through those, obviously, talk about that a little bit as the season goes on. Hendrickson in the batter's box takes a strike on the first pitch. Hendrickson expected to be one of the key cogs on the mound for the Raiders this year. He awaits the pitch from Bielos with Piney in scoring position on second base. And Hendrickson creams this one, but it's going to go not quite into the outfield, and it will be caught for out number 1. So it looked like he got a lot on it, but it just didn't get enough hang time and comes down for out number 1. And so now Tanner Anselment, who, if you follow Hastings baseball on Twitter, you've seen the Tanner Talks segment that they have started this year. And Tanner asked if he could be a co-host on KDWA at some point, so we may be able to see what we can manage there. But he's in the box now to face Bielos here with Piney still on second base. And he will ring one out into right field for a single. Nope, maybe more than that. Piney's going to come home. He will score. This game is tied. An RBI single from Tanner Anselment ties things up at 1 here in the bottom of the first inning. 1 pitch was all he needed. And the Raiders are off to a real good start here. 2 for 3 on getting on base. And now Mitch Iliff steps in. Again, Iliff, one of those players who has committed to play baseball in college, will take a strike on the first pitch. 0-1 the count. 1 away, 1 on Tanner Anselment, and a 1-1 game here in the bottom of inning number 1. A lot of ones there. Bielos rises, fires. Outside on Iliff for ball number 1. Woodbury's logo mirrors what the Washington Nationals wear. but is white and blue instead of white and red. And Bielos rises and going to have a stolen base at second. Tanner Anselman took off as Bielos was getting ready to send it in on Iliff, and Anselman slides in safe to second base. So 1-1 the count. Now a runner on second with one away. And Iliff awaits the next pitch. Raiders already with 2 hits in this bottom of the first inning. And Iliff rings this one foul into the parking lot, and I should have moved my vehicle, as should have Larson and should have Hunter Pinky, because that one went right over to it. So I'll need to make sure that I did not just lose a window in my vehicle. Looks good from here. Outside on Iliff, evens up the count 2-2. 2-2, one away. Runner on at second base is Tanner Anselman. And is that a number change for Mitch Iliff this year from last year? I can't remember. But Iliff sends that one foul. So it stays 2-2 with Evan Nelson due up for the Raiders. Nelson hit the only Raider home run in Grossman Field last season against Matamidi in that doubleheader. So we know he's got some power on that bat. And if Iliff can get on base, real opportunity for the Raiders to open this up here in the bottom of the first inning. Bielos sends it in on Iliff. Fans on the pitch. He's away for strike 3. That's 2 away for the Raiders, and now we will get to see Nelson with Jack Selesky in the on-deck circle, as the Raiders have gone more than 50% of the way through the batting order already here in this bottom of the first inning. This is the 5th one. Selesky would be 6 if Nelson can get on base. But 6, 7, and 8 are due up for Hastings. Nelson will see this one and go outside to the right for ball number 1. 1-0, 2 away. And again, Anselman still on at second base for Hastings here, as Nelson will fan on the pitch to even it up 1-1. Hastings does have a pretty big stretch of games in the middle portion of the season. Looks like Matamidi and St. Thomas Academy either back-to-back or right near each other in the schedule. Always powerhouse programs. Hastings swept St. Thomas a season ago, as Nelson gets a piece of this one, sends it way back into center field, and they'll make the catch for out number 3. That will end the inning. We're tied at 1, but the Raider bats are going early here in River Falls. All right, back here at First National Bank Field of River Falls, Hastings and Woodbury. This game was scheduled to be played here. If you're curious why they're playing it here in River Falls, it was an opportunity to play in a neutral setting, and they've been able to get this game in only about 18 hours after it was scheduled to be played. It was supposed to be played at 6:30 last night and got moved to noon today. So as a result, the Raiders pretty much as advertised, playing a game on April 7th. As we mentioned, it was supposed to be Park of Cottage Grove this afternoon, but that game was moved earlier in the week and will be played April 20th at the Grossman Field, which, as you heard us on our KDWA pregame, we talked about has had some changes this offseason for the better. A new windscreen in the outfield, a new scoreboard. The softball stadium also getting a new scoreboard as well. So good to see some changes taking place over there. And looking forward to seeing them in person here on April the 12th against North St. Paul. And so Woodbury will start the top of the second inning. Ben Gillison, the shortstop for the Royals, will lead things off here in the top of inning number 2. Hodman stands in, fires it. Gillison gets it right into the glove of Nelson, and Nelson will throw it to first base. One and done for Ben Gillison here in the top of inning number 2. So 1-1 is the score. Joey Moeller, number 23, is next up for the Woodbury Royals. Woodbury and Hastings have met in sports already this year at the South St. Paul Premier Hockey Tournament. As Moeller gets this one out into center field for a base hit, and he will be out on first base with a single. So 2 pitches in this inning, and 1 out and 1 single on those 2 pitches. And now Tommy Dietrich will step in for Woodbury here against Odman. Teglin takes his helmet off for just a moment, and a little bit of a timeout called here. And now we're ready to go. And Odman fires this one in, and it's fouled away behind us into the outfield, or not outfield, but behind the home plate area. So 0-1 with 1 away and 1 on for the Royals. Odman sends it in high. Throw is going to be offline to second base, and Moeller is in safely. Looked like they had an opportunity to get there, and maybe it just left the hand awkwardly. But nonetheless, Moeller steals second base. So 1-1 with 1 away. Gavin Odman on the mound for the Raiders. This one's going to be bunted foul over the backstop and into the grandstand seating. Yeah. By the way, it is a rule in Minnesota reportedly that if a ball lands in snow, it's ruled a ground rule double. So, but we've already cleared off all the snow here except for out there in the far end of the outfield. So we should be good in that regard. Only in Minnesota and Wisconsin and in the Midwest would you deal with that rule, as this is going to be strike 3 for Dietrich. He's out and away, and that's 2 away for Woodbury here in the top of the second inning. Patrick Healy will step in for the bottom of the order for Woodbury, and Huberty will be on deck. Odman sends it in on Healy, and a strike called right down the middle. Nice pitch by Gavin Odman, 0-1 with 2 away. Again, it's 375 into center, 303 into right, 312 into left here at First National Bank Field. And 1 with 2 away, as we said, and Odman sends this one in, and strike number 2 is called. So 0-2, Healy on the brink. And Odman trying to get out of this inning with only 1 on for the Royals. Hits are 2 apiece right now. Swung on by Healy, hit well into left, bounces down in front of Anselman. Woodbury will score a run, and the Royals take a 2-1 lead with an RBI single from Patrick Healy. Great hit by Healy out into left field and bounced down in front of Anselman, and now the Raiders are down again. So back to the top of the order we go. Jack Huberty. Again, if you weren't with us on the radio side, talking to Coach Stoffel, he mentioned the possibility of 2 to 3 innings for their pitchers today, just to try to get in some extra manpower up there on the mound and to kind of keep the arms as fresh as possible as the grind of the season starts really next week. And Oddman will throw a strike, evening the count at 1-1. So Oddman waits the signal from Teglin, looks back over to first base where Healy stands. And that one's outside for ball number 2. So 2-1 the count now for Oddman against Huberty. Head coach for the Royals is Kevin McDermott. Assistants Justin Feldkamp and Nick Bentley. And that one is going to be ball 3. 3-1 the count. Here in the top of the second inning. Outside ball number 4. And that will send Huberty on to first base. Healy over to second base. And now McNellis will step into the batter's box with 2 away and 2 on for Woodbury here in the top of the second inning. Oddman stretches out a little bit. And Oddman sends this one in right down the middle for strike number 1. 0-1, 2 away, 2 on. Not a cloud in the sky, but a tad chilly for mid-April. But I think that's coming to a close here soon as McNellis fouls this one over into the backstop to make it 0-2. This would be a big spot for Gavin Oddman to get out of this 2-on situation and prevent any further runs and keep this a 1-run game going into the bottom half of the second inning. Oddman looks back at second and sends it in. It's a little high, 1-2. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs, and 2 on. And a 2-1 lead for Woodbury here in the top of the second inning at First National Bank of River Falls Field. Oddman swung on. This one is going to go out into center for a base hit. 1 run will score for the Royals. It is 3-1, and they'll have runners on the corners as well. So Woodbury takes a 3-1 lead with that RBI single from McNellis, the DH. And now we will see Adam Wall, the center fielder, who will be up next as Woodbury responds to Hastings, who had 2 hits there in the bottom of the first, with 2 hits of their own here in the top of the second. A lot of baseball left to go. Oddman sends it in, swung on, and fouled away. Oh, 0-1 the count. 2 away, 2 on, runners on the corners for Woodbury. Oddman nods his head, swung on, hit well, back into left by Anselman, and that one's going to bounce off the wall, and everybody should come around and score for Woodbury. Anselman throws it out to Hendrickson. The throw will not be in time. Woodbury will score 2 runs, so a 2 RBI double from Adam Wall has made this a 5-1 Woodbury lead thanks to a 4-run second inning. And now Coach Stoffel runs out to the mound to have a conversation with Gavin Oddman. All the infielders will come in. We'll take a break. We'll step aside and be right back. All right, we're back here. And Gavin Ottman stays on the mound. Carter Klein steps in for Woodbury with the Royals up 5-1 on Hastings here in the top of the second inning with 2 away and a runner on at second base. Ottman fires this one in for a strike. We know the Raiders' bats last year certainly were capable of coming back quickly. They did it against South St. Paul in that ridiculous 20-10 game last year. And this one swung on, hit well, back into center. Multiple Raiders chasing after it. And what a nice effort to chase after it, end the inning. And we'll go to the bottom of the second. Raiders down 5-1 with a lot of baseball to go here in River Falls. I was going to ask if you wanted to hop on for an inning, but no, you're all right.
Some you've heard of more, but it doesn't bother me cause I just love to explore. Interviewing owners and lending a hand. I love to assist for as long as they can stand.
Run inning there. And the Raiders, still like we said, have 6 innings of batting to go, but not an ideal start to the 2023 season to this point, and no reason to panic, but down early. And so coming up for Hastings in the order will be Jack Selesky. The 6, 7, and 8 hitters are due up for Hastings. Selesky, Ottman, and Tegland. And then we'll go down to the bottom of the order, Kimmis, and back to the top with Piney after that. Again, this is actually a doubleheader here today at River Falls Field, as River Falls High School has a game coming up against one of the Eau Claire high schools at 3 o'clock or after the conclusion of this one. Obviously, we won't be bringing that game to you, but this is the joys of a turf field. Is this a new pitcher for Woodbury, or are they just getting in some extra warm-ups here? It looks like it's the same pitcher, number 8, Bielos. And so Selesky walks in for his first at-bat of the 2023 season. With Ottman in the on-deck circle. Here's the pitch from Bielos, swung on by Selesky and fanned on for strike number 1. 0-1 the count. And so Selesky awaiting the next pitch, swung on again, fanned on 0-2. Again, we mentioned it earlier, headed to St. Cloud State to play baseball. Bielos briefly steps off the mound, now back on it. Winds up and fires, and Selesky is away for strike number 3 and the first out of the inning. So Gavin Ottman steps in now with Tegland due up. And Ottman into the batter's box. Pitcher v. pitcher here. Bielos fires this one in on Ottman high for ball number 1. So 1-0, 1 away, nobody on. This one is outside, ball number 2. So Ottman gets ahead in the count, 2-0, after that 3-pitch at bat from Jack Selesky. And this one down and low, ball 3. So Ottman in a good spot here. 3 balls, no strikes. Again, Raiders down 5-1 in the bottom of the second inning. And there's a strike right down the middle on Ottman, so Bielos gets one back. And 3-1. Oddman fouls this one away. That'll make it full 3-2. Woodbury took a 1-0 lead in the top of the first. Hastings evened it up, and then that 4-run spot by Woodbury has opened it up a little bit, but Hastings trying to come back as Oddman fouls this one on a line drive out into first base. And we'll get another crack at it with a full count, 3-2. Waiting for the ball to head back over to the mound with Bielos. Oddman looks over at Stoffel briefly and waiting for the opportunity to get back into that batter's box. And I believe Bielos is about ready to go. Oddman's ready to go, and the at-bat will continue. Here's Bielos, sends it in, ball 4, and Oddman's on first base. So, Johnny Teglin's first at-bat of the season now, with Cade Kimmis due up for the Raiders. Johnny Teglin, catcher, offensive lineman, defenseman, 3-sport athlete for the Raiders. A lot of multi-sport athletes on these Raider teams as Teglin fouls that one away. See multiple hockey players on this year's baseball team as well. Piney, Chumsland, Zagoda, Vandehoff, Teglin. 0-1 and a pickoff attempt of Oddman at first base, but Oddman will slide back in safely. Sherry as well. Yep, thank you. And DeNoyer. A lot of hockey players on this baseball team. As fanned on here by Teglin, obviously Hastings hockey was one of the big stories for us locally in terms of the section placement. Still trying to make sure that's verified, but it will be, if true, there will be a new section for Hastings hockey next year. And they won't be the only new team in that section, as this one is high on Teglin. But we'll try to make sure that that is verified before we officially make that the case. So 1-2 for Teglin here. And a pickoff attempt of Oddman at first base. And he is back safely, 1-2, one away. (5-1) Woodbury here, bottom of the second inning, thanks to a 4-run inning by the Royals there in that top half. Swung on by Teglin, he got a piece, but it's fouled away. 1-2. One away, and one on. Oddman reached on a walk. Kind of a mix of wardrobes out here. We've got some in t-shirts and some not. Some pretty bundled up. So this one's a little bit outside. That'll be ball 2 on Teglin. About 42 degrees, 44 degrees now outside here. But 60s and 70s in the forecast. So changing of the seasons is ahead, and I did see some people posting photos of construction cones going down on the interstates. So we're entering that part of our Minnesota seasons, as that was a ball outside. 3-2. So full count for Johnny Teglin here. Another pickoff attempt of Oddman at first base, but he slides back safely. Again, you may be wondering, Major League Baseball does have that pitch clock this year, but that is not a thing here in Minnesota, and I don't know if it ever will be. But not with 7-inning games, as Teglin will get walked. So back-to-back walks here for the Raiders. There is a new rule, though, that was just implemented yesterday for high school baseball and softball in Minnesota. Effective immediately, doubleheaders could be played either as 2 5-inning games or a 7-inning game followed by a 5-inning game. That was yesterday at the MSHSL board meeting. That was decided, reported as effective immediately. So if there is a doubleheader this year, I don't know, do they get to the decision to make it a 5-5 or a 7-5, or we'll have to figure that out. But that was the rule that they announced yesterday for baseball and softball this year, as Kate Kimmis steps into the batter's box for the Raiders. And I know in Wisconsin this year, the new rule with the conference games being 2 games in 3 days against the same opponent, 1 home and 1 away, that was done specifically for baseball, so they didn't throw the same pitcher against the same team as Kimmis fans. But they also implemented that for softball over there. Well, we are in Wisconsin today, but for Hastings purposes across the river in Wisconsin, for our Prescott listeners, that will be a change that's implemented there this year. 0-1 the count on Kimmis. As Bielos looks back to second, Kimmis fouls that one hard away out into the park behind us. That one looked like it missed him a little bit, as Larson looks at me and goes, that one may have hit our cars. No, that one looked like it went a little to the left, thankfully. So 0-2 with 1 away. For Cade Kimmis, runners on first and second, both reaching by virtue of walks, Oddman and Tegland. Raiders had a nice bottom of the first inning, but need to get the bats going a little bit here. Still got a lot of baseball to go, though. As we said last year, that crazy game against South St. Paul where they had, it was 10-5 in the 5th, ended up winning 20-10. Just an insane game there. And then, of course, they had 2 games last year, the doubleheader at Tartan, where I believe they hit like 7 home runs across the 2 doubleheaders. And Coach Stoffel was telling us earlier on the coaches show, a pickoff attempt goes awry for Woodbury. And Oddman will stay at second base, but he probably could have made it to third if he so chose to. I know how to speak English. So chose to. 1-2, 1 away, like we said. Kimmis into the batter's box, waiting the next pitch from Bielos. Swung on and strike 3 for Kimmis. That's 2 away. But we go back to the top of the order with Eddie Piney, who was one of those who launched a homer at the Tartan doubleheader last year. I believe he also had one, and Matt Larson will remember this, the homer he had against Rosemount in the sectional as well. Absolutely crushed that one. So he awaits the pitch from Bielos here with 2 away and 2 on. And a homer here would be huge. That one will be ball number 1 on Eddie Piney. Low but outside. As coaches Selesky and Stoffel are out in the corners here, watching the action and coaching from out there. Piney rings this one out into left. This one will get down for a base hit. Oddman is being waved around. He will score. Stoffel is waving Selesky, or the pinch runner, around for the Raiders. They will both score, and now sliding into third in time is going to be Eddie Piney. So a 2 RBI triple for Eddie Piney has made this a 5-3 baseball game. And I need to make a correction. It was Sawyer Chumsland who was pinch running for Johnny Tegland. And Chumsland came all the way around with Oddman, and it's a 5-3 baseball game. I believe it's 5-3. Scoreboard said 5-2, but we'll correct that. A 2 RBI triple from Eddie Piney. It went right along the left field line, stayed fair the whole time, and then Woodbury had some issues picking it up, and that allowed the Raiders to wave Oddman and Chumsland all the way around to score. And so now this one hit well by Hendrickson, but it should be caught for the out here, and it will be. And that will end the inning. But the Raiders get a little bit closer thanks to that big hit by Eddie Piney. It's 5-3 after 2 here in River Falls. 12 would be Trey Tessier. It's Vanderhoff. Yeah.
Now pitching for the Raiders, number 8, Aaron Vanderhoff.
New pitcher on the mound for the Raiders, Aaron Vanderhoff, will be back on the mound after a couple of relief appearances a season ago. Will figure more into the Raider rotation here in 2023. And again, as I mentioned a couple times earlier, this should be by design, as Coach Stoffel going to throw a few hands today, few arms today to try and get them some reps and to kind of keep them as fresh as possible, as the grind of the season really gets going with that game next Wednesday against North St. Paul, which is the next game for the Raiders. So the first pitch from Vanderhoff on number 8 here, which is George Bielos, pitcher v. pitcher, and that one's just outside to the left for ball number 1. For our radio listeners, left is my left from our vantage point, right, my right. It'll be the opposite for the TV viewers if you're looking at it from the pitcher's mound. But you don't have a camera out there, so 1-1. And Bielos pops this one over to left. Nelson gets to it. The big throw in time to Iliff, and he is safe because Iliff's foot was not on the bag. So Bielos safe at first base. But a great throw from Nelson to Iliff, who had to stretch to make a little bit of a catch there. And a pinch runner on for Bielos. Number 7, Max Bilak, is on for Woodbury. And so 1-1, they will count that as an error. And that's how Bielos will reach. So the first error of the game goes to the Raiders. Again, if you're listening to us on KDWA, this is a live broadcast, as the Raiders were supposed to play this game last night, but moved to noon today. And Aaron Vanderhoff now faces number 5, Ben Gillison. And we're all trying to figure out if that was a ball or a strike. For those watching on TV, the score bug now working, so you'll be able to see it a little bit here. That one is a ball, and this will send Bilak out to second base, the pinch runner. 2-0 is the count, with Woodbury on top, 5-3. A 4-run second inning for the Royals, the difference so far. And Vanderhoff looks back to Bilak at second base. This one's going to be bunted and caught for the out by Teglin. Excellent play by Johnny Teglin to race into foul territory and make a diving effort for the catch for the out. And so 1 away with 1 on at second base for Woodbury, and a nice reception for Teglin there after that diving effort. Now stepping in Joey Moeller, who's already delivered a big hit for Woodbury in this contest. This one a bit high on Moeller, so 1-0. Iliff on at first base. The first baseman, I should say, for the Raiders. Piney is the second baseman, and Nelson is third. Hendrickson is the shortstop, and then the outfielders, are Anselment, Selesky, and Kimmis. In left, center, and right, respectively, and Vanderhoff on the mound. 2-0 the count here for Moeller. 1 away and 1 on for Woodbury. Did he get a piece of that one? I heard a little bit of a crack of the bat, so they will say that was a foul ball, 2-1. You could just slightly hear the crack of the bat there. And the ump signals 1-2. So 1 ball, 2 strikes is what he rules. We have it as 2-1. But it is going to even up here, looks like 2-2. So Aaron Vanderhoff on the mound, facing Joey Moeller for Woodbury. And Moeller gets a piece of it. This one back out into left. Anselment calls for it, makes the catch. And then the throw to third won't be in time. The pinch runner, Balak, will slide in, but it is 2 away for the Royals here in the top of the 3rd inning. So full count was what we had, and then it was a fly out to left field, and Anselment made the catch. Pinch runner is on at 3rd for Woodbury, and Tommy Dietrich will try to drive him in and make this a 3-run Royal lead. And Aaron Vanderhoff will look to get out of here without any further damage. Here is Vanderhoff. Sends it in down the middle for a strike. Due up for Woodbury will be Healy, and then back to the top of the order with Huberty and McNellis. Evened up here. This one outside to our left. Looking straight down at the batter's box. So again, left from our vantage point. Here inside the press box. Swung on, hit well. This one will down for a base hit that'll drive in a run, as an RBI single to left field by Tommy Dietrich has made it 6-3 Woodbury here in the top of the 3rd. And so now we go to the bottom of the order with Patrick Healy to try to get that 4-run lead back for Woodbury, but he's going to need a triple here to do it, barring something crazy. And a pickoff attempt goes awry. Speaking of something crazy, and now Woodbury will slide into second base, safe. Will Moeller. They tried to pick him off at first base. The throw was offline, and Moeller is into scoring position on second base for the Royals. But only need 1 out here to get out of here without allowing another run. Just a 3-run game, and still got 4.5 innings of baseball to go. This one's high, so that'll be a ball. 1-0 the count, 2 away, 1 on. 6-3, Woodbury the advantage. Little Suburban East versus Metro East matchup here today in River Falls. 2-0 the count. Now on Healy, outside, or low outside to the right. The score is the same as the hits, 6-3. Vanderhoff will throw this one high, ball 3. 3-0, 2 away, 1 on. Thanks for being with us wherever and however you're listening or watching. First baseball game of the year for the Raiders. And ball 4 to Healy, so he's on to first base. Puts runners on first and second and back to the top of the order with Jack Huberty, the right fielder for the Woodbury Royals. And now we're going to have a conversation on the mound. Tegland and the infielders will race in to talk, as well as pitching staff to talk to Aaron Vanderhoff here. Diagnosing how to get out of this inning with 2 runners on. And while we have a break here, we want to say congratulations to Hastings wrestling great Bob Rudy, who is being inducted into the MWCA Hall of Fame on April 29th. I believe that ceremony's in Benson. Accumulated a phenomenal career in Hastings, went on to wrestle 1 year at St. Cloud State, and started a scholarship back in 1998 for Hastings wrestlers. So congratulations to him, as Vanderhoff will throw ball 1 here at the top of the order, Jack Huberty. And this one almost gets Huberty, but he gets out of the way just in time. 2-0. And awaiting the next pitch from Vanderhoff here, high ball 3. So in danger of loading the bases here are the Raiders. And we'll see if Vanderhoff can get a comeback here and get out of this inning. Here's the wind-up, the pitch, and he gets one back with a strike. Nice perseverance here from Aaron Vanderhoff. 3-1, 2 away. And again, the Raiders down 6-3 in the top of the 3rd inning. This one way high, ball 4, and that will send him off to first base. Runners on all 3 now for Woodbury, and an opportunity for Lucas McNellis to deliver a big opportunity for the Royals. Again, they led 5-1 in the last inning. Hastings cut it to 5-3. It is now 6-3 here in the top of the 3rd. So we'll see if the Raiders can get out of this with a bases loaded jam situation and preserve what is a 3-run deficit. Ball 1 outside for Vanderhoff. Got Sherry warming up in the bullpen for the Raiders. This one is ball 2. Two-0, 2 away, and all bases juiced for Woodbury. Strike down the middle for Vanderhoff here. Gets one back, 2-1. Vanderhoff and Teglin communicate through their eyes. We've got a loose ball here that came out of the dugout, and so a brief stoppage. Don't know if that one maybe got away from the pitcher warming up in the bullpen, but we're back to action now as Vanderhoff sends this one in, high ball 3. 3-1, 2 away, and again, bases loaded here in the top of the 3rd. First bases loaded of the year. We'll see how the Raiders respond. Here's Vanderhoff, the wind-up, the pitch swung on, fanned on for strike 2, and the count is full. Great pitch by Vanderhoff there. And so 3-2 with 2 away. Big pitch coming here for Aaron Vanderhoff. Trying to keep this a 3-run deficit with the bases loaded. Wind up, the pitch, and it's ball 4. So it is now a 4-run lead again, 7-3 for Woodbury. Bases remain loaded as Dietrich comes around to score. And so 7-3 Woodbury here in the top of the 3rd inning. And McNellis on at first now as a result of that walk. So Wall with a chance to really extend the Woodbury lead here. But if you're Raiders and you're Vanderhoff, you're hoping to get out of this inning. Here's Vanderhoff. Low and in the dirt, ball 2. 2-0. Wall had a double in his last at-bat, so we know he can get after it. as Woodbury with one run in the first, 4 runs in the second, 2 runs in the third. Hastings with 1 run in the first and 2 runs in the second. So if you like offense, you're getting it here today at FNB Field in River Falls. Here's Vanderhoff outside for a ball, 3-1. A walk here would extend the lead to 5 with the bases loaded in the top of the third. Vanderhoff swung on, fanned on, count full. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And a big pitch coming here as a 4-run lead has been the largest for Woodbury. It was 5-1, it's now 7-3. Vanderhoff and Tegland communicate. Runners go for Woodbury, high ball 4, it's a 5-run lead. As Wall has walked out to first base, that brings in Healy, and it's 8-3. And so now Carter Klein is going to come in, but we've got another conversation coming on the mound. This time it's Coach Stoffel coming out to talk to Vanderhoff. And Coach Stoffel checking to make sure he's good. Sherry no longer warming up in the bullpen, so it looks like he might be coming onto the mound. And that is the case. So Vanderhoff is done. Matt Sherry will check in for the Raiders. He'll get some warm-up pitches in, and we'll be right back to River Falls. Back here at First National Bank Field in River Falls. And again, Matt Sherry heading onto the mound for the Raiders as a 3-run third inning on just 1 hit with the bases loaded sees the Raiders make a change in pitcher. And again, no pitch clock, thankfully, in Minnesota high school baseball. I'm not a fan of it. I know there are people who are big fans of it. The Twins had a game under 2 hours the other day, which, if you think about a 9-inning baseball game, that seems hard to believe as Sherry throws a strike on the first pitch. But only 7 innings in high school, so probably we'll never see the pitch clock. As this one bounces away from Tegland for ball number 1. 1-1 with 2 away. 8-3 Woodbury in front on 6 hits. Bases are loaded with 4 walks in this inning. Sherry fires one in outside, 2-1. And Sherry rises and fires, hit and fouled away, and there's a minivan coming down the road that might get a face full of a baseball there, so they better be careful. But 2-2 now as a result of that foul ball with 2 away. Here's Sherry. Swung on, and was that fouled? Yes, it was. So that will keep it 2-2. And again, it is Carter Klein, Bielos, and Gillison due up for Woodbury. But again, 2 outs here in the top of the 3rd inning. We've played over an hour in a baseball already, and we're only in the 3rd. This one is blooped short. Sherry just not sure. No one knew what to do there, and Woodbury gets another run. Sherry had it. They're out by third base, just kind of looking for somewhere to throw it, but everybody had reached by that point. So an RBI single for Woodbury extends the lead to 9-3. And the Raiders will get their turn offensively, as kind of expected this to be a high-scoring game coming in. We know these are 2 teams that are very capable offensively. But the Raiders down 6 here in the top of the 3rd with still 4.5 innings of baseball to go. Sherry facing Bielos, and Bielos pops it foul into the backstop for strike number 1. Bases remain loaded for Woodbury here in the top of the 3rd inning. Fanned on by Bielos, 0-2, in a big spot now for Sherry. Chance to get out of this bases loaded situation, but avoid any further damage. A 4-run 3rd after a 4-run 2nd for Woodbury. So 9 runs in the first 3 innings. This one's outside for ball number 1. Outside to Sherry's left, our right. And Sherry on the mound, looks back, surveys his options, fires this one in, and he got him for strike 3. So Matt Sherry gets out of a bases-loaded jam, but not before Woodbury puts up 4 runs for the 2nd consecutive inning, and after 3.5, it is Woodbury 9, Hastings 3 here on KDWA and HCTV.
Push that trash that way, not this way. Come on.
Oh, hey there. Do you like HCTV?
That's one small step for Hastings and one giant leap for community television.
Do you want a custom video that promotes your business or organization and gives you the results you're looking for? As an HCTV sponsor, our staff will work with your business or organization to create a custom video to promote your brand. You also have an option of getting a shout out in every sporting event we cover. And that's 3 points for your business. So support HCTV today! Go to hastingstv.org/sponsors for more information or to give a one-time donation.
Getting ready for the bottom of the 3rd inning here at First National Bank of River Falls Field. Woodbury on top of Hastings 9-3. And a new pitcher for the Royals to start off this inning. Evan Prokopik, who had been playing first base, moves on to the mound. Bielos goes from the mound to first base. And now Tanner Anselman will step in for the Raiders to lead things off here in the bottom half of the 3rd inning. After that very long top of the 3rd. 3, 4, and 5 hitters, Anselman, Iliff, and Nelson due up in this inning for the Raiders. Anselman fans on the pitch. He's already down 0-2 here. So Anselman looking to spark the Raider offense here, and a ball there, 1-2. So we're kind of seeing a little bit of consistency from these teams offensively. They both put up 1 in the first. Woodbury with 4 runs apiece in the second and third. Hastings with 2 in the second. So we'll see if the Raiders can respond to that, as Anselman will pop this one out into center field, and it's going to be caught for out number 1. So Anselman is away. And Mitch Iliff will step in. Iliff awaits from Prokopik here. The wind up the pitch, and outside ball number 1 on Mitch Iliff. Evan Nelson due up for the Raiders. And then Jack Zaleski will follow as Iliff will smack this one into foul territory. They won't be able to make the catch, and it's 1-1. So Mitch Iliff with a 1-1 count will stay alive as Woodbury unable to make the catch on that foul ball. 9-3 Woodbury the advantage. They have 7 hits to Hastings 3. Raiders with the only error of the contest. This one low and in the turf. 2-1 now the count on Mitch Iliff. And now the rise, the fire from Prokopik, swung on and fouled away into the backstop by Iliff to even it up 2-2. Again, Raiders out of the Metro East, Woodbury the Suburban East. And not a section game, but a fun way to start the year between these two, as Iliff will get a piece of this one into foul territory and away. And that one will go out near the restrooms, about 60 degrees to my left. As Prokopik with a 2-2 count on Iliff here. 1 away, nobody on. Slow windup, and ball 3. 3-2 now the count. Prokopik likes what he sees from his catcher. Rises, fires. Ball 4 on Iliff. So the Raiders get a base runner here with 1 away in the bottom of the third. And now Evan Nelson steps in for Hastings with a chance to make it a little bit more interesting for the Raiders here, down 6 runs in the bottom of the third inning thanks to some hot Woodbury bats and 4 walks in the last inning. Only 1 hit in that 4-run third for the Royals. Here's the pitch by Prokopik, outside ball 1. And so 1-0. Again, Hastings' next game scheduled for Wednesday, the home opener at Grossman Field against North St. Paul. Ball 2 on Nelson. Was scheduled, like we said, to be today against Park, and this game was supposed to be played last night, but Mother Nature was winning the battle early in the spring sports season. This game moved to today. The Park game moved to April 20th. Swung on and fouled away by Nelson. 2-1. He is the count. And I believe Hastings lacrosse scheduled to have a scrimmage today against Farmington as the Brian Wilson era gets underway for Hastings lacrosse. We will have 1 lacrosse game as Nelson will get 1. Woodbury will... No, they say safe. So Nelson popped one out, or blooped one out, I should say, out into left center. They will get Iliff out at second. The throw to first to get Nelson out and turn the double play was not in time. And so Nelson is safe on first base. And now Jack Zaleski, 6th in the order for the Raiders, is up next. And we have time called here as Coach McDermott for Woodbury wants to have a discussion with the ump about why that wasn't a double play. Looks to be a pretty civil conversation. But they not appearing to agree on the decision there by the umpire. Looked to me from our vantage point like he was safe, but we are the Hastings broadcasters, so. But that being said, I do believe, in all honesty, that it looked like the right call. So McDermott goes back to the dugout, no harm, no foul, and we play on. As Selesky awaits the pitch from Prokopik here. For those watching on the stream, if we are mispronouncing a name, please let us know in the chat and we'll make sure to correct it. That one's popped foul by Selesky. 0-1, 2 away. And Jack Selesky facing Evan Prokopik here. Ball 1 is called. That'll even things up 1-1. Top of the order, excuse me, no, Gavin Oddman is due up next, 7th in the order for the Raiders after Selesky here, but there is 2 away in the inning. And that one will be strike 2 on Selesky, and yeah, good observation from the gallery here in the press box that it is actually Matt Sherry in the on-deck circle for Hastings. Swung on by Selesky, strike 3, and that will end the inning. So, Raiders are left without a run for the first time in this game, and they're down 9-3 after 3. We'll be back to River Falls.
So, I saw something on TikTok that vaping can cause major long-term health problems. Is that true?
Hey guys! Dr. Fang. So I couldn't help but overhear your question. So you've probably heard of asthma, right? But researchers at the University of California, San Francisco this year found that there is linked between vaping and long-term health problems, including confirming those findings of asthma.
Isn't asthma treatable?
So yes, asthma is treatable with certain medications. However, those with asthma can probably tell you that flare-ups are common and very, very uncomfortable.
Thanks.
No problem, guys.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Those two programs, and obviously River Falls will bookend the doubleheader here today. We believe it's either against an Eau Claire school or Tartan, so we'll make sure we double check that. But Tartan is a Metro East opponent that the Raiders will face twice this season. So Sherry starts off the inning here on the mound, and Woodbury will pop this one up to center, and caught right away by Hendrickson. 1 away, 1 pitch and done for number 5, Ben Gillison. And so now we will see number 23, Joey Moeller, on the mound for Woodbury, or on the plate for Woodbury, I should say. As Matt Sherry, the 3rd pitcher of the day for the Raiders, gets his 2nd inning of work. Well, he didn't pitch the full 3rd inning, but this one is fouled, lined into left by Moeller here. And so 0-1 the count. And so Sherry back up onto the mound here for the Raiders, down 9-3 in the top of inning number 4. And a nice strike down the middle by Matt Sherry to make it 0-2, one away. So Moeller is at the plate. Dietrich is on deck for Woodbury, as the Royals look to try to extend the lead, but this one fouled away over the backstop and out into the street behind us here. So it stays, no balls, 2 strikes. And Sherry looks to get the signal from Tegland here. Wind up the pitch, and this one's going to be blooped over into first base. The throw will not be in time, and Dietrich will reach on first base. Looked like the throw was behind as Sherry came off the mound to try to make the play at first base, and the throw by the Raider was just off target slightly, and so Dietrich will reach onto first base, and the pinch runner Lucas Paulson will come on to pinch run for Woodbury on first base. 1 away, 1 on. And Tommy Dietrich, I should say, is at the plate. That was Moeller who reached on the... They count that as an error, perhaps, maybe? And give him a hit. All right. As Dietrich at the plate, and Dietrich is beaned. He will head off to first base. So runners on first and second now, as right in the left shoulder, upper portion of the left shoulder, between the shoulder and the neck, Dietrich got hit. He's all right, and he heads off over to first base. So we go to the bottom of the order now. Patrick Healy. Woodbury up 9-3 with runners on first and second. Sherry sends it in, fanned on, low 0-1 for Healy. Top of the order due up for Woodbury, Huberty, McNellis, and Wall, who have all made some plays for the Royals in this game so far this afternoon. Here's Sherry, the windup, the pitch, and a little high, 1-1. Runners on first and second for the Royals, with 9 runs on 9 hits. Hastings 3 runs on 3 hits. 2-1 now the count on Patrick Healy. Nice crowd on hand here today. Sherry looking back. And fanned on, strike number 2 by Healy. That'll even things up 2-2. Sherry and Tegland look at each other to get an idea of what to do here. Looks back, and then looks back at the plate. And that one's going to be ruled foul. So they'll have to send the pinch runner for Woodbury back to second base, or they're going to let him stay at third. We have a stoppage here. Yet they're going to send him back to second base. I would assume they would have to because they ruled it foul. But it looked like there was a little bit of confusion between the umps on what to do there, but they send him back to second base. And so runners remain on first and second, 2-2 the count with 1 away. Woodbury leading Hastings 9-3 in the season opener for the Raiders here today at First National Bank of River Falls Field. Sherry sends this one in. It's ball 3, and the count's filled up 3-2. Sherry looks back, winds up, and this one's going to be a strike. And that is a strikeout for Matt Sherry. And Healy is away. 2 outs now. And we go back to the top of the order with the right fielder, Jack Huberty, at the plate for Woodbury. Raiders with 2 on for the Royals, trying to get out of here without any damage being done. Sherry sends it in for ball 1. Nobody in the bullpen for the Raiders, so they're going to ride Matt Sherry here for a little while. As again, part of the plan today was to throw multiple arms. And Sherry throws a strike to even it up 1-1. KDWA's next broadcast is TBD. It'll either be the Hastings softball game against Tartan or a Prescott game, as a strike thrown here by Sherry. If you weren't with us earlier, we mentioned that Prescott had their home openers with Somerset, or their home editions of the Somerset series for both baseball and softball switched from April 13th to April 11th. And so, as it will be a strikeout, a nice pitch thrown there by Sherry on Huberty, and the Raiders will strand 2. We'll go to the bottom of the inning when we come back.
Hi, I'm Dave Wilski, Chief of Police in Hastings, Minnesota. Fentanyl and other opioids are here in Hastings. Our police officers, EMTs, and firefighters respond to dozens of overdoses and poisonings every year. To date, for 2022, Hastings Police Department officers have responded to 45 reported overdoses in our community, and you can help. Call 911 if a friend or loved one is overdosing. Minnesota's Good Samaritan Law, also known as Steve's Law, provides limited protection to people who call 911 and or administer naloxone in response to a suspected or known drug overdose. You can report drug problems anonymously as well. Use our TIP 411 system to make a confidential report. Text the word Hastings and your tip to 847-411. For additional resources, contact United Way's 24/7 helpline by dialing 211 to find resources in and near Hastings. Remember, one pill can kill. Let's work together to stop opioid overdoses and poisonings in our community.
And that will be at Vets Park as part of softball day in Hastings. So our KDWA broadcast schedule is available on our website. And of course, HCTV will be at the Hastings Tartan game next week, the softball home opener. As Prokopic on the mound, Sherry at the plate to start things off here in the bottom of the 4th inning. With the Raiders trailing 9-3, but certainly capable of making a comeback here. 1-0 now, 1-1 on Sherry. We expected some offensive fireworks today, and we've gotten it. Outside for ball 2 on Sherry. As the second half of the doubleheader starting to show up here a little bit as well. River Falls and Tartan will be the second game, and strikeout called on Sherry to even it up 2-2. Hastings will play Tartan twice this year, as we mentioned. And that one will be a full count now for Sherry. This one low and outside, 3-2. And Prokopic likes what he sees, fires it in on Sherry, swing and a miss, strike 3. Matt Sherry is away. And so now we will see Johnny Tegland and Cade Kimmis due up for the Raiders. And again, a really large lineup for the Raiders this year. You love to see that depth. More than 70 showed up across the baseball programs at Hastings this year. Strike called on Tegland on the first pitch. And so 0-1 the count. One away, nobody on. That one's outside for a ball, so that'll make it 1-1. As Prokopic looks back at his catcher. And this one is going to be a strike called on Tegland. So 1-2 with one away. Tegland, I don't think, liked that one very much. Looks back at the ump just to make sure he's ready. And Prokopic fires this one in. That one will be outside for a ball. That'll even things up 2-2 as they almost got away from Moeller, the catcher. But we're evened up at 2 here on the count. And that one is going to be strike 3 called, so Tegland is away. And now the Raiders are down to their final out of the inning. And we'll go to the bottom of the order with Cade Kimmis.
Back for the Raiders, number 7, Kimmis.
And so Kimmis will face Prokopic here, trying to ignite this Raider offense in the bottom of the 4th. And he will almost do just that. He will do just that as he threw it over to first base. The throw is offline, then a collision between Kimmis and the first baseman. And now Kimmis is caught in a rundown. And I don't quite understand, and Coach Selesky's not sure about it either. The throw was offline. There was a collision at first base. Kimmis was going to second, and they really was caught in a rundown and thrown out. And so the inning is over. And we'll go to the 5th with the score still 9-3. Now Coach Stoffel having a conversation with the ump. And it looks like there's a little bit of an agreement there on what happened. And so we'll just go straight into the inning now as a result. But that one, yeah, we'll just say that. Looked like obviously the throw looked, looking like Kimmis maybe thought it went out of play or what, but he was on first base safely and then took off for second base, got caught in the rundown, and that's how the inning ends. So the Raiders don't get anything there in the bottom of the 4th, and we go to the 5th with the score still 9-3 Woodbury. And it will be Sherry again. So we will step aside momentarily, and we'll be right back.
Back for the Royals, the designated hitter, number 11, Lucas McNellis.
Ready for the top of the 5th inning here at First National Bank Field, and Matt Sherry sends it in on number 11 for Woodbury, Lucas McNellis, the designated hitter who's had a big day for the Royals so far. And ball 1 was called, so it's 1-0 the count. Here's Sherry, hit well by McNellis, but ended up fouling away as it changes direction. So 1-1 the count. And Sherry looking back to Tegland to get the signal. Sends it in and swung on by McNellis back into foul territory. Iliff chases after it, but it's too far out of play. And it will be 1-2 though. But you obviously prefer the out in that situation. So 1 ball, 2 strikes for the DH, Lucas McNellis. Adam Wall is due up. Strike is called on McNellis, and it's a strikeout for Matt Sherry. So he's away, and 1 away for Woodbury in the top of the 5th. Adam Wall due up. And Sherry and Tegland communicating as they gear up for the at-bat. Bunted foul by Wall. And I believe it was caught by somebody. Thankfully, Larson and I's insurance companies would be happy about that. 0-1 with one away. Whoever made that catch out there probably deserves a free meal from one of us after parking our vehicles too close to the field here probably, but Sherry will throw this one in for a strike, 0-2. So 0-2 for Wall. Carter Klein due up. And Sherry sends this in, swung on by Wall. And now they'll just throw it around as that is strike number 3 for Wall. So back-to-back strikeouts for the Raiders to start this 5th inning. And Carter Klein at the plate, Bielos due up. Bielos was part of that collision with Kimmis in the last inning. Strike thrown here by Sherry. So Sherry's getting into a rhythm now for the Raiders on the mound. 0-1 with 2 away. Both strikeouts here in the inning so far. This one will be strike number 2 for Carter Klein. Again, the Raiders with 3 innings full for them to go still offensively. Long way to go, and if they can keep this consistent pitching going on here. And there it is again, 3 straight strikeouts for Matt Sherry. Sends us to the bottom of the 5th, and momentum for the Raiders down 9-3 here in River Falls.
At Hastings Community TV, we have been telling the story of Hastings since 1983. By supporting HCTV, you are supporting weekly live high school sports coverage, community events, original shows like Take a Hike Mike, Man on the Street, Aprons Optional, and Around the Mic. You are also contributing to coverage for school events, graduation, prom, school board meetings, and the student-run broadcast journalism course, The Echo.
HCTV is your one-stop shop for all things local government. This coverage includes city council and other local government meetings, forums, PSAs, local news packages, and so much more.
HCTV also provides virtual alternatives to in-person viewing for notable events around Hastings. We make all of our content viewable to everyone by putting it on TV, YouTube, Facebook, and our website for on-demand viewing.
With more and more people cutting cable each year, a major source of our funding is continuing to decline. Your support is vital to keeping our small nonprofit sustainable. If you would like to give a donation, you can go to hastingstv.org/donate. To learn about our sponsorship program, where your business will be recognized in our programming, check out hastingstv.org/sponsors.
Eddie Piney to lead things off in the 5th. And a strike called there. 0-1 the count for Eddie Piney. Here's Prokopic, the windup. And that'll be 1-1 now for Piney. The gust of wind blows some leaves out onto the field here in the infield. 1 ball, 1 strike for the Northern State commit, Eddie Piney. Prokopic wind-up pitch, fanned on by Piney, 1-2. Stoffel, Coach Stoffel looks back over to Piney, gives him a signal. 1 ball, 2 strikes for Eddie Piney here. Prokopic fires in high, 2-2. 9-3 Woodbury here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Raiders still have some time to get the offense going, as Piney will get a good start here, dribbled, and the throw will be in time, however. And so one away for the Raiders in the bottom of the 5th. And now Alex Hendrickson is due up. Hendrickson, as we mentioned earlier, headed to the University of St. Thomas to play baseball. And he will face Prokopik here in the bottom of the 5th. Strike called right down the middle on Hendrickson, so 0-1 with one away and nobody on. This one outside on Hendrickson. That'll even things up, 1 ball, 1 strike. Hendrickson waits. And that one will be outside, 2-1. So he gets ahead in the count as a result of these consecutive pitches. And Hendrickson will smack this one, but it will go about halfway and be caught out in center field for out number 2. The Raiders are getting pieces of it, but they're not going all the way out to the warning track, and so as a result, Raiders are down to their final out of the 5th, with Tanner Anselment due up for Hastings here, 3rd in the order, and Mitch Iliff on deck. And Prokopik winds up, sends this one in on Anselment, strike down the middle, 0-1. 0-1, 2 away. Nobody on for the Raiders here in the bottom of the 5th inning. And that one outside for ball number 1 on Tanner Anselment. Anselment waits for the pitch, and strike is called. So he's down in the count now, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Raiders have not gotten on the board since the 2nd inning. Woodbury scoring 8 runs in the 2nd and 3rd combined. And that's been the difference in this game. Here's Prokopik. Outside on Anselment, 2-2. Wind up and the pitch swung on by Anselment. And this one's going to be bobbled, and this will be a base hit for the Raiders. Tanner Anselment will reach as multiple bobbles by the Woodbury 3rd baseman, number 4, Carter Klein, unable to make the play. And so Anselment will reach. And now Mitch Iliff with a chance to keep this offense going for the Raiders and get a little bit more momentum. Hastings needs every hit they can get at this point, down 6 in the 5th. As that one will be ball 1 on Mitch Iliff with 2 outs and 1 on here in this bottom of the 5th inning. Prokopik in on Iliff, outside, ball 2. 2-0, 2 away, 1 on. Season opener for the Hastings Raiders here today. Home opener will be next Wednesday against North St. Paul. Iliff, fans on the pitch, 2-1. And again, the joys of a turf facility, able to get this game in only about 18 hours late. And Iliff will smack that one foul. So 2-2 the count. Big pitch coming up here for Mitch Iliff. Here's the pitch by Prokopik, outside, ball 3. The count is full. Crowd gets a little bit more into it here on this upcoming pitch. Prokopic sends this one in on Iliff, ball 4, he's off to first base. Woodbury thought it was a strike, but Iliff called ball 4. So runners on first and second, and now looks like there'll be a convo on the mound here for Woodbury as Evan Nelson will step in for the Raiders. 2 away, 2 on. Raiders down by 6 here in the bottom of the 5th. Don't need to get all 6 here. But a big opportunity for Evan Nelson to get the Raiders a little bit closer down to their final 7 out to the contest. As Prokopic sends it in on Nelson, strike 1. So 0-1 with 2 away and 2 on. And again, we mentioned Nelson, part of that plethora of talent on this Raider roster this year. 1-1 the count. As Woodbury catcher and pitcher exchange glances. There's the nod of the head. Looks back over to second base. The pickoff attempt won't be in time as Anselman easily slides back into second. And so it stays 1-1 with 2 away and 2 on. Prokopic looks back to second base, sends it in on Nelson, and it'll be ball 2. So he's ahead in the count now, 2 balls, 1 strike. And a big at-bat for the Raiders here in this bottom of the 5th inning. Lined up from Prokopic, swung on by Nelson, fanned on by Nelson, and so it's strike 2. Count is even, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Prokopic gets the nod of the head. Looks back to second base, but sends it in on Nelson. Strike 3, and the inning is over. So the Raiders strand 2, and it stays a 6-run game, 9-3 here in River Falls.
Batting for Woodbury, first baseman number 8, Jealous.
Top of the 6th inning here at First National Bank of River Falls Field on this Good Friday. Matt Sherry back on the bump for the Raiders to start things off here in the top of the 6th. And George Bielos, number 8, at the plate for the Royals. Started on the mound, has moved to first base, and is at the plate now. 1-0 the count. Sherry. And that one fouled away by Bielos, 1-1.
Hunter, every time you do that, your doctor's paid by $5.
Again, Woodbury scoring all 9 of their runs in the first 3 innings of the contest. Nothing on the board in the 4th or 5th. Hastings getting all 3 of their runs in the first 2 innings of the contest. As a strike thrown here by Sherry, 1 and 2. Raiders have been held off the scoreboard in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th innings. Need to get 3 quick outs here and then get the offense going in the 6th and 7th as Bielos pops that one foul. And it stays 1 and 2. Sherry looks back over to the dugout for a second, and now looks at the catcher. Fires this one in, fouled away by Bielos. 1 and 2. Some additional spectators have joined us, those being the River Falls and Tartan baseball programs. And Sherry looks at Teglin for the pitch. Big pitch coming here with a 1-2 count. Swung on by Bielos, and that one gets into a gap in left field for a base hit. And so Bielos on at first base for Woodbury. And Ben Gillison is up next, and now Bielos heads off to second as the throw back to Sherry offline, and so he reaches there and puts himself into scoring position. And Gillison at the plate for Woodbury. Number 5 versus number 5 here. Sherry versus the Woodbury right fielder. Or excuse me, the third baseman. Ball 1 called on Gillison here. 1-0. Sherry looks back at the runner at second a couple of times and then fires this one high for ball 2. So 2-0 the count, 9-3 the lead. Woodbury with 10 hits, 9 runs, no errors. Hastings 3 runs, 5 hits, 1 error in the contest so far. Sherry looks back, sends this one outside ball 3. Again, we're in the top of the 6th inning. Looked like it was going to be first to 20 wins at one point. As Sherry fires this one in for a strike to get one back, 3-1. Sherry, that one will be ball 4, so Gillison off to first base. Bielos also over on second base. So 2 on, nobody away for Woodbury in this top of the 6th with a 6-run advantage. Now Joey Moeller, number 23, the catcher, to face Matt Sherry here. Sherry looks back to second base once, does it twice. Fires it in on Teglin, and Moeller will bunt, and it will be bunted foul. 0-1, now the count as a result. Thanks for being with us wherever and however you're listening to us today. We're at First National Bank Field of River Falls. Neutral site opener for both of these teams. Fun way to kick off the season as ball 1 thrown there and pump fake by Teglin on the pickoff attempt causes both of the Woodbury runners to return to their respective bases. Sherry looks back at the runner at second base. Bielos sends this one in on Moeller, and now they will go for the pump fake again by Teglin. He fooled me that time. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. What is it? What is it saying? Something like that, yeah. So it's 2-1 the count. Another look at a bunt by Moeller, but 3-1 now the count. And it looks like there is some action in the bullpen for the Raiders. Is that Gavin Radent out there, number 18? Nope, number 16, Mark DeNoyer. This one's popped up in, throw's gonna be offline, and that's gonna allow a Woodbury runner to score. And it is 10-3, runners on second and third. As I was looking at DeNoyer, this one was right off the bat of Moeller. Sherry tried to make the play, threw it to first base, but one run will score, and Woodbury extends the lead to 10-3. And it looks like Stoffel just signaled. Did he just signal for DeNoyer? As he approaches the mound with the infielders. And we will see if there'll be a pitching change for the Raiders here. So Woodbury with 10 runs on 10 hits and a 7-run lead, and yes, indeed, there will be. So Sherry out, DeNoyer in for Hastings, and we'll be right back. So it's Mark DeNoyer on the mound for the Raiders here in the top of the 6th inning with nobody out for Woodbury, and the Raiders trailing 10-3, needing a big rally in these final 2 frames to try and take an opening day victory, but Woodbury has had the bats going with 10 hits so far. They've doubled up the Raiders in that category, 10-5. But on the scoreboard where it matters the most, it's 10-3 in favor of the Royals. So Mark DeNoyer on the mound for Hastings. Another one of those multi-sport athletes. One of the top scorers for the Hastings hockey team back in the winter. And runners on second and third for Woodbury when we do get going here as DeNoyer gets a couple more warm-up pitches in. Raiders 3 runs, 5 hits, 2 errors. Woodbury 10 runs, 10 hits, no errors. And so number 21 for Woodbury, Tommy Dietrich, will be the first batter that DeNoyer will face here in the top of the 6th inning. And DeNoyer rises and fires and throws a strike. So 0-1 the count. And DeNoyer looks back to Teglin. Again, runners on second and third here for the Royals. DeNoyer now looks back to second base. Rise and fire, and fouled away on the contact there by Dietrich. So the 4th pitcher of the day, the Raiders started on the mound with Gavin Oddman. Then they went to Aaron Vandehoff, Matt Sherry, and now Mark DeNoyer. Swung on, fanned on by Moeller. He's away for strike number 3 in the first out of the inning. And We have a pinch hitter coming on for Woodbury, Evan Crandall, number 6. Will now be the 9th hitter for the Royals, and then we'll go back to the top of the order after that. As DeNoyer fouled on a bunt attempt, and the got him out at home plate. Gillison slides in on the bunt attempt. He's out at the plate. So that's 2 away for the Royals here in the top of the 6th. And a big out there for Hastings to prevent this from getting a little bit deeper of a deficit. So Evan Crandall's first at-bat of the game against DeNoyer. And DeNoyer will throw a ball, 1-1 the count, as it was a foul by Crandall on the bunt attempt there that saw the out at the plate. Here's DeNoyer on Crandall, outside ball 2. So 2 balls, 1 strike for Evan Crandall. Here's DeNoyer, the windup, the pitch swung on by Crandall, popped up into left, and called for by Nelson. He makes the play, makes the catch, and the inning is over. So the Raiders do surrender a run, but that's it. And we go to the bottom of the 6th with the Raiders needing 7 runs to tie and 6 outs away, and it is 10-3 Woodbury. All right, we're back here at First National Bank Field in River Falls. Raiders down 10-3 as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. And get your rally caps on if you're a Raider fan, because we know this team is capable offensively, and we'll see if they have enough to get back in this one here in these final 2 innings. And Jack Selesky, the 6, 7, and 8 hitters are due up. Selesky, Sherry, and Tegland. Again, Oddman started the game in the 7th spot, but Sherry came in and pinch hit for him the last time, and so he'll be due up. Or are we going to see DeNoyer in that spot, it looks like, actually. But nonetheless, it's Selesky at the plate now, and ball 1 for Jack Selesky. Prokopik still on the mound for Woodbury. Wind up the pitch, and strike called on Selesky to even things up 1-1. Here's the pitch again by Prokopik, swung on by Selesky, and a base hit into right. So Jack Selesky on to first base with a single, and might that be what ignites this Raider offense, as now Mark DeNoyer will pinch hit in that 7 spot. DeNoyer, Tegland, and Kimmis due up for the Raiders now in this bottom of the 6th inning, with Selesky on first base as a result of that single into right field. Here's the pitch by Prokopik, and ball 1 on DeNoyer. And it looks like Tegland is still going to be up next in that on-deck circle, as we've seen Coach Stoffel mix it up each of the last 2 times this particular batter has been out there, and a strike called on DeNoyer to even it up 1-1. Wind up the pitch, high 2-1 now on DeNoyer, and so he gets ahead in the count. Prokopik Outside again, 3-1. And so DeNoyer in a good spot here. 3 balls, 1 strike, no out, 1 on. But the Raiders down 7 here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Outside, ball 4. And DeNoyer's off to first base. That sends Jack Zaleski off to second base. And now Johnny Tegland will look to deliver a big opportunity for the Raiders. Again, Hastings, we've seen one of them here today. Connor Stoffel, Jackson Schaefer, the 2 guys really they're replacing from last year that were key cogs offensively, and Stoffel on the mound. Schaefer hit his first grand slam of his collegiate career recently for Bemidji State. Looks like we're going to get a pinch runner for the Raiders as DeNoyer heads off. Brady Griner is on as the pinch runner for the Raiders on first base. Here's Prokopik, swung on by Tegland, popped up into left, and called for and caught for out number 1. So Tegland flies out to left field, and that will be the first out of the inning. And now Cade Kimmis steps in to face Prokopik, and we go back to the top of the order after that with Eddie Piney. Runners still on first and second. It is Zaleski on second, Griner on at first base, Kimmis at the plate for the Raiders. Prokopik looks back to Zaleski at second base. Fires this one in low for a ball on Kimmis, who played a little bit last year. One of the Kimmises was injured last year. But in the lineup today. And a strike called there to even it up 1-1 with 1 away. Raiders up to 6 hits, but only 3 runs on the board so far. Hoping to use these final 2 innings as an opportunity to get back in this game. Kimmis fouls this one over into the River Falls baseball team, but goes over all their heads. And so 1-2 with 1 away. Big pitch here for Woodbury's Prokopik on the mound. He looks back to Zaleski. Kimmis pops this one up into foul territory. That one lands somewhere behind us. Stays 1 ball, 2 strikes for Cade Kimmis. Here's Prokopik, and evened up 2-2. Kimmis staying alive here. Prokopik, a little hesitation, now nods his head in agreement with his catcher Mueller. And that one will be strike 3 on Cade Kimmis. That's 2 away for the Raiders now. We go to the top of the order with Eddie Piney. Again, 2 on first and second. But the Raiders have been held scoreless since the bottom of the 2nd inning when they cut it to 5-3. 5 unanswered runs by Woodbury since then. 4 in the 3rd and 1 in the 6th. Has opened it up to a 10-3 advantage. The catcher for Woodbury, Moeller, taking a second, and now Piney ready to go against Prokopik here. And a strike called on the first pitch on Eddie Piney. 2 away, 2 on, 0-1 the count for Piney. Raiders down 10-3. On this beautiful afternoon in River Falls. Piney fans on the 2nd pitch, 0-2. So big pitch coming up here for both teams. as Woodbury can send this to the 7th inning with a big lead, and Hastings trying to get a little closer. Prokopik calls time, steps off the mound. Looks a little frustrated with himself too. But Piney steps back in with 0-2 the count. 2 away and 2 on for the Raiders. Big at bat here for Eddie Piney. Prokopik rises, fires, high ball 1. He'll stay alive a little longer. And again, Al Hendrickson is due up after the fact for Eddie Piney. And Piney, we know he can hit the long ball. A 3-run homer here would be perfect to get the Raiders a little closer, get back in it. But he will be called strike 3. The announcer's jinx. And we will go to the 7th inning with Woodbury on top 10-3 over the Hastings Raiders. All right, we're on to the 7th inning here in River Falls with Woodbury on top of Hastings by 7. And so the Raiders are hoping to get 3 up, 3 down here and then put the rally caps on in the bottom of the 7th inning. In this season opener, long way to go for the Raiders in this 2023 season. As Mark DeNoyer facing Jack Huberty, the top of the Woodbury order. We expected this to be a challenge for the Raiders today. Suburban East versus Metro East. This game has no effect on section or conference standings. First conference game obviously happening on Wednesday as it's an 0-2 count for Huberty. First section game, I believe, is now the 20th against Park. And DeNoyer with a 1-2 count, and this is going to be strike 3, the throw to first in time for the out. And so 1 away for Woodbury here in the top of the 7th inning. Lucas McNellis will step in. A lot of the snow that's left here has turned to ice in the main stands here at FNB Field. Most of it down in the walkway between the home base level seats and the first real row of seats above it. As that was a strike on McNellis, 0-1, and McNellis gets a piece of this one. Back deep into foul territory and out of play as it curves right over to the fence. Kimmis and Iliff exchange discussion about that one, and 0-2 the count with 1 away. Looking forward here on our KDWA side, we'll have every home and away Hastings baseball game this year. We're looking forward to following this team all season long as DeNoyer sends it in. McNellis gets a piece. This one's going to be a double at least. Nope, he's going to turn back around, head back to first base. But a base hit for McNellis out into center field. puts him on base with one away in the top of the 7th inning. And so Adam Wall will step in. McNellis has reached multiple times in this game. And with one away, it'll be Adam Wall at the plate for Woodbury. Ball one thrown here. Time called by the ump. Are we going to get a pinch runner for Woodbury? We are. McNellis will be taken out, and Lucas Paulson will pinch run for him here in the top of the 7th inning. Glad to have live sports back on KDWA and HCTV. We went a little over a month without any sports coverage live on our airwaves. So good to have it back. Just as the weather starts to change over, hopefully all this snow will be gone here in the next 2 weeks or so. Here's DeNoyer. Swung and a strike, not a swing, but a strike rather, called on Wall. That'll even things up 1-1. Eleven hits for Woodbury, 6 hits for Hastings. Strike 2 called here, and 1-2. Looks like the Raiders are going to ride it out with DeNoyer here in this 7th inning. Nobody in the bullpen right now. DeNoyer, a windup. The pitch swung on, caught by DeNoyer at first. Throw to second is in time. Throw to first is in time. The Raiders turn the double play. And we'll go to the 7th inning with the Raiders needing 7 to tie. It's 10-3 here in River Falls.
I'm Haley Noring, and this is my daughter, Chloe. And we live in Hastings, Minnesota. Chloe will never get to know her uncle, Devin. My brother, Devin, died of fentanyl poisoning on April 4th, 2020. Through Snapchat, Devin and his friend bought what they believed was a Percocet. It wasn't. It was a fake pill made of 100% illicit fentanyl. My brother didn't want to die. My family had to learn what fentanyl was after it was too late. What happened to my family could just as easily happen to yours. If we would have known about fentanyl sooner, maybe we could have saved Devin's life. You still have time to have that life-saving conversation with your children and loved ones. Illicit fentanyl is the leading cause of death for ages 18 to 45. Every 5 minutes in the U.S., illicit fentanyl kills someone's brother, son, father, mother, or loved one. Call 911 if someone you know is overdosing. Call United Way's 24/7 helpline by dialing 211 to find resources in and near Hastings. Contact United Way of Hastings or visit their website, unitedwayofhastings.org, for more resources or to make a donation. You can save a life by working with me and the United Way of Hastings to build awareness and reduce the stigma of overdoses and fentanyl poisonings. One pill can kill.
Guys, last year, and ball one called here on Hendrickson. Looks like Sawyer Chumsland is into the on-deck circle. Will be pinch hitting for Anselment as Hendrickson catches made in right field for out number 1. Hendrickson got a lot on it. It sailed out into right field, but just enough for Woodbury to make the catch. And so the Raiders are down to their final 2 outs in this game, and we'll see if Sawyer Chumsland will be able to ignite something for the Raider offense here. And then after that, Jared Neville is in the on-deck circle to pinch hit. Prokopic sends it in on Chumsland, strike 1. Raiders again, we mentioned, enter conference play in their next affair against North St. Paul. 1-1 now the count on Sawyer Chumsland. We will have to double check when they officially reveal all the sections, if the baseball sections will change for next year. I don't expect those to change too much. But last year, Park represented the section at the state tournament. Raiders are hoping it'll be them this year. Certainly have an opportunity to do so. Rosemount and Park typically are the two teams we figured would stand in Hastings' way, but Park kind of in a rebuilding year as the count goes to 2-2 on Chumsland. So an experienced Hastings squad as Chumsland will strike out and the Raiders are down to their final out. But you have to expect that conference championship aspirations are also there for the Raiders this season as Jared Neville will pinch hit. Hastings obviously suffered only three conference losses last year. 2 of them were the doubleheader to Matamidi, and then that wild game against Hill Murray that they had to finish about 2 weeks after it started. And Hastings was already down when they resumed it, as 2-0 the count on Neville. So Hastings will certainly be one of the top teams in the Metro East this year. You have to imagine it's them, St. Thomas, and Matamidi, probably the top 3, not in that order, as Neville will swing and miss, 2-1. But Hastings beat St. Thomas twice last year, and so definitely opportunity there for the Raiders to make some noise again as Neville will foul this one away, even it up 2-2 with 2 away here in the bottom of the 7th. And this is also an example of the depth the Raiders have. The pinch hitting that they've also got here. Neville. We've seen Chumsland. We've seen Sherry. We've seen DeNoyer. Raiders are not going to be afraid, have not been afraid today at least, to mix it up in their batting order. As Neville will be walked, he'll head off to first base, and so the Raiders stay alive with Jared Neville, the pinch hitter, on at first base with 2 away. And now Evan Nelson with a chance. With the Raiders down to their final out. Nelson, will it be Selesky in the on-deck circle? It looks like it will be. But will he get an opportunity? Evan Nelson will try to do his best. And Nelson will do just that. A base hit out into left field will put runners on first and second. And so 1 pitch and a single for Evan Nelson. And the Raiders have 2 on for Jack Selesky with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Some other teams to keep an eye on in the Metro East this year, probably North St. Paul, 2 Rivers. As Selesky fouls off the first pitch, 0-1. Woodbury will play Park in Suburban East play this year. They've also got East Ridge, a few others that make some noise typically on the baseball side. Ball 1 on Selesky. No, they call strike 2. 0-2 the count. So the Raiders are down to their final pitch in this contest now. With 2 on, trying to spark a big comeback in the 7th inning. But Selesky will fan on the pitch, strike 3. And that will be today's ball game. So the Hastings Raiders will fall in their season opener to the Woodbury Royals today. 10-3 the final score on HCTV. We had Hunter Pinky, Ian Andrzak, and Ben Brannon on the telecast today. On the KDWA side, I am Trey Lauer, and we're going to be back on the radio momentarily, thanks to those that were watching, though, on HCTV.